This call is now being
Esta es
recorded.
Global Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Telling.
Hello, Joe.
Okay, hello.
Hey, just want to give
how
you the
you doing,
heads up. I'm doing pretty good. We're currently live right now. I went ahead and plugged it in, so we're definitely good to go. And with that, yeah. So
Okay.
just want to ask you how you doing, and thank you for calling in.
I'm doing good. And thank you for having me. I want to bring the audience up to date on something, right? So when I first called, like we were kind of like improv. We were just winging it, And I think they should know this. When I got the invite to come on this podcast, I don't know the gentleman running the podcast, right? So I'm a convicted felon. I'm in state prison, and I have a circle of friends. Now we're all working on ourselves. We're all trying to go home. All this group of friends has at least a life sentence, right? Some of them are outwalks. Some of them have no chance still to go home. But we're on a path of redemption. So through this circle of friends, one of them told me, hey, would you like to be on this podcast? And we were at Yard, so Yard's limited. I was given limited information. So I kind of just jumped on here, not really knowing what I'm doing, how we're doing it, and none of that. So fast forward, we're like 2 days later, a day later, and I went to Yard again, and I talked more about it, and they kind of filled me in on what the podcast is trying to get across and everything. So now I'm more familiar. So as I was telling my story to James, there's a lot I'm leaving out. And the stuff I'm leaving out is like how I became.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
The stuff I'm leaving out, and I touched bases on a little bit of it, but the stuff I'm leaving out is how I became a monster. How does someone at the age of 17 years old take another life, right? So now I want to revisit some of my childhood and talk about the things that I look back on through my rehabilitation, through these groups I go to, the participation in them. They kind of make you reflect on life. And when you're reflecting, you can kind of pinpoint things in your life, in my life specifically, on where I went wrong. Because you don't wake up one day and you're just able to kill somebody, right? That's not what happens. It comes bit by bit, piece by piece. And I would like to touch up on that so the audience could to kind of walk with me on my journey now that I'm here, on how I dissected my life and to see how I even got there in the first place, Because we're painting a picture. But right now, I didn't know that at the first episode, but I do now. Basically, you were seeing like a sketch, And for the most part, from here on out, I'm going to try to grab the paint. I'm going to try to give you guys a Picasso. And with that said, I'll ask you, James, do you have anything you want to know, or like we're in full sprint now,
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you and the fellas also helping you out and guiding with you. I know previous to us going on that live, we only had maybe 2-3 calls, and I just I gave you as much information that I could think of at the moment. So yeah, like you said, you were just pretty much just given a paddle and were expected to be able to navigate. But I'm glad that they were able to fill you in and give you some of the background on it.
Light.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I really appreciate.
Because I knew.
Go ahead.
Yeah, because I knew this was about trying to change lives. and trying to detour a young person from making a mistake. Like, I knew that part of it, right? And I'm all in on that. I owe so much amends in my life that's going to be a part of me for the rest of my life. Like, trying to change lives, trying to talk to younger people, trying to explain to them certain things to help them better deal with life and help them not make the same mistakes I did, right? But I didn't know exactly how deep the rabbit hole we're going, you know? And now I feel like I got a handle on it, and I'm prepared to take you and the audience down that road, you know?
All right, perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and hand off the mic to you. I'm gonna step away for a second or two because I'm having some work done here in my house, and I just need to help them out on what they need to do. But the mic's all yours right now, and I'll be back shortly.
Okay, here it goes. Well, we learned in the last episode, like I was the only boy and all that, right? And my mom was out here in California doing what she did, and she didn't have no family support. But along with that, there were other things going on. Like, when I was little, around 5 years old, 6 years old, my sisters at this time would be like 15, 16, 17, 18. Well, in that age of my sisters, they stopped calling my mom, and they started calling her Janet by her name, right? And when you're a little kid, you mimic things, you know. So I can't remember. I just remember I started calling her Janet, but maybe it started off with me calling her Janet and laughing. And I do remember her telling me, like, don't call me my name, I'm Mom. And I just completely ignored that, and I called her Janet. I remember I was the baby boy. She loved me. She didn't hit me. So through time, she just started letting me call her Janet. Well, when I look back at my life, and I can recall the first time I started rebelling against authority, it goes to this moment. Because when I stopped calling her Janet, I stopped giving her title as a mother. And I didn't know that was connected to, like, me being rebellious towards authority. Because keep in mind, my whole family household, this is before gangs, before the streets, the government's corrupt. So here I am calling my mother by her name, and I'm again having no consequence for it. And then when I grow up, I get a little older, and I will use this term a lot. Even in the streets, before I came to jail, before I hit juvenile hall, I remember some people would tell me stuff, and my reply would be, if I don't listen to my own mother, what makes you think I'm going to listen to you? And that kind of thinking helps form your identity, right? So as I'm forming my identity, I'm getting tougher. And I really wanted to touch up on that because that seems so small. But in hindsight, I see how big that was. Because I was already rebelling against society, against the norms. I don't think I had one friend who called their mother by her first name. Maybe a slip up here, maybe a slip up there, but not indefinitely like I was. And I just wanted to share that. And there's other key moments that help shift things, right? There's one point in my life where I have a best friend, and I won't say his name, but I have a best friend, and we're like 7 or 8 years old, right? Or maybe we're 8 and 9, somewhere around there. His sisters are my sister's friends, so because of that, we become friends. And one time we're at our elementary school, and it's after hours, like school's let out, and we're just fooling around until an empty school. We got to use the restroom. So we go to the restroom, and we're using it. And before we can get out of the restroom, keep in mind we're like 8 or 9 years old, or 7 or 8 years old. Before we can get out of this restroom, 2 Crips come in the restroom. And at that age, you really don't know about Crips and Bloods. But these fools were like banged out. They had blue Pendletons on. Like, you can tell they were Crips, you know? And at that age, I knew they were Crips. And they're 2 gentlemen. They're about 15 and 16 years old. So they're like double our age. And they go in that restroom and they're trying to do a good deed in their warped mind, right? They're trying to tell us that we're homies, and they're using terms like this is your homeboy, like you got to protect each other, and they're trying to school us in this gang culture. And we're two little Mexican kids, you know? And they tell us, you know, get down, fight with each other. My mom always taught me you don't fight your friends. So when she's teaching me that, like, I might have been rebellious, but things my mom said I always took to heart. So when they're saying that, I'm like, nah, there's no way I fight my friend. I'm not doing it. So then these guys start bullying us. They, like, really get aggressive. You know, you're going to fight them or we're going to jump you. They're saying all this and that. And me, I'm like, I'm just not doing it. And I'm ready to break down and cry. Like, the whole situation's ugly. And it feels ugly. And I feel trapped in this restroom. They're not letting me or my friend leave. And they're bigger, so we know we could get whooped on easy. So what they do is they're like, okay, you're not gonna fight. And then my friend, when they start threatening to beat us up, my friend gets scared, and he starts punching on me. And I'm not hitting back because of what my mom said. You don't fight your friends. So I'm just taking the abuse right now. My friend's whooping on me. I'm not falling to the ground. I'm standing up, but he's hitting me. And I'm looking at this fool like, I can't believe you're not getting jumped with me. I can't believe you're hitting me over these fools. Like, I'm thinking we're going to get jumped together. And these black guys, they see this. And they're like, you know what? I had enough of this. So then they grab my fist. They grab my wrist. He stands behind me. He grabs each wrist. And now the other black dude grabs my friend. And he's like, give me your hands. So now they think we're a video game. It's like Mike Tyson, right? They're playing like Mike Tyson Punch-Out on Nintendo. They're swinging my wrist, and my hands are open still. I haven't even clenched my fist. So my fingers are hitting him. My palms are hitting him. And this fool's fists are closed, and they're socking me. And they're doing that. But I feel like I'm the only one getting hit. And at this point in time, I lose my temper. And I tell the guy behind me, I say, get off me, fool, get off me. Like, you want to see a fight, get off me. And they're like, okay then, we're gonna see what these fools got. Now, I start fighting my best friend, and out of nowhere, his head, the top of his head, he starts gushing out so much blood, right? So this is covering his face and half of his shirt, and I'm swinging for dear life. I lost my temper. I'm out of it. I'm in the zone now. And they're telling me stop, and I'm crying, and I'm like, this is what you wanted to see, this is what you wanted to see, this is what you want, and they're like, stop, and now they're both like on me and defending him, and now I'm more mad, and they're washing him up in the sink, and they're cleaning him up. What they didn't know was my friend, and I forgot all about it till this happened. 2 weeks prior, my friend fell off the roof, and he got stitches in his head. Now, when we're fighting, I bust those stitches open. That's where all the blood comes from. Now, after all this happened, and they wash him up, and I'm over there in the corner ready to keep going, like I'm mad at this point, they make us hug and shake hands, and then they're like, now you guys are homeboys, you know? Now you guys are homies. And I was still mad at my friend for even fighting with me, because I was, in my mind, I'm like, we're supposed to get jumped together, you know? But that didn't happen.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
So these two Crips, in their heart of hearts, and I could know their warped sense of belief because I was in it later, right? In their heart of hearts, they just schooled these two little Mexican kids on how the streets work. This is your best friend. This is your homeboy. You don't let nobody jump him. You get in for him. He gets in for you. Loyalty, bonded, etc., etc. Now, I would be lying.
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
I would be lying if I said that didn't affect my judgment on how I viewed loyalty, how I viewed these words like death before dishonor, loyalty above everything. Like, that was the beginning of those kind of thoughts in that restroom right there. and I wanted to share that. So I'll continue the conversation when I call back right now.
All right, perfect. I'm here, man. That was, I didn't see that coming, man. That's that, I guess
Okay.
that you could call that a pivotal moment in your young life, you know. So
Yes, absolutely.
all right. So if you want to go ahead and give us a call back, we got about 10 seconds before this call drops, and then we'll go ahead and continue
Okay.
with the next part of your journey.
Okay. I'll hit right back.
All right. So you want to go ahead and thank you, for tuning in. This is our newest guest here. It's gonna be Joe. This would be our second phone call, and on his first phone call, we kind of went kind of sped through his early life, and then he got into pretty much when he got picked up for his murder case, and what transpired, those events that transpired beforehand. So I'm glad that the other gentleman touched bases with him and kind of shared their view on it, and he's revisiting part of his life that kind of went over.
This call is now being recorded.
Esta es Global Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Telling.
Hello, Joe.
Hello?
All right.
Yeah, I'm right here.
All right, perfect. So before you continue right now, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to one of our viewers right now. He just tapped in, and he goes by Fish Slayer SoCal, and he writes, "Saludos, Joe and James." Really appreciate that, and definitely want to recognize our viewers that are tapping in.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, and then if you want, you could go ahead and continue. But man, I could, man, when you said your little friend right there, his head was gushing and blood was coming out of his head, and that he had recently fell off a roof at that time. Man, like my heart was pounding right there, because I mean at 9, 7, 8, 9 years old, I mean you don't know how to handle that situation, and then how are you gonna explain that to an adult, that these two guys came in and like they practically forced you guys to to fight. You pretty much didn't have a choice in the matter. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and hand off the mic to you, and you could go ahead and continue with your journey here.
Okay, and something else to add to that, right? Like when this happens, sometimes I get emotional talking about certain things, right? So when this happens, I never tell my mom about it, ever. And, the reason for that is this. When I was growing up, like my sisters, they didn't know when they would be like, boys don't cry, They would just tell me like, be a man, you're the man of the house now. So in time, hearing that over and over, like you're the man of the house, but you're a 5-year-old kid, you start developing an attitude like men handle their own problems. Men handle, they handle the situations. So when I'm growing up, the stories I'm sharing with you, my mom never knew. She never knew because I would never tell her. So that's another piece of my identity I was grabbing onto. Like, you don't go to help, so to speak, And after that, obviously I can't tell my whole my story because there's just too many stories, right? So I'm just sticking to the ones that were most impactful in my life and helping create this identity of this Billy Badass kid, you know? Because again, we're not born like that. We're born loving children, and you start grabbing things. So when I move out, we end up moving from one part of the city to the next. And as I shared last time, I had my sisters who had one dad, and their dad had family in California. So I had like aunts and cousins through them that I didn't even feel like they were my aunts and cousins. But everybody, that whole side embraced me. It was just me in my head that I would be like, nah, they ain't my real family. So when we moved, when we first moved, this is the first time I ever moved residencies, I ended up going to a spot, a trailer park. And this trailer park had all kinds of little kids. You know, I had all kinds of new friends. And I'm a little older now. I'm probably like 10 years old. And one of these little kids, my sister sees. And she's like, oh, that's your cousin. And I'm meeting this guy for the first time. He's a 10-year-old boy just like me. And in my head, I'm like, no, that's your cousin. I ain't got no cousin, you know? But whatnot, we became friends, and we would hang around every day. And all these little trailer park kids became friends. Now, at this age, none of them were from nowhere. Some of them thought they were from somewhere, but in reality, none of them were from nowhere. But at this age, there's some local gangs, and they start getting in them. And I used to have a best friend. You know, I'll leave him nameless, but me and him were the only two that didn't get in gangs. Because we were like, nah, it's just like, and at this time it's heavy recruiting. Like, they're like, come on, and most of the trailer park gets into one gang, and we don't get in it. Now, one time we're coming back from school. Oh, we're going to school, in the morning. And this group of friends, my cousins from this gang too at this time. So all these little fools get jumped in. Within a matter of like 2 weeks, the whole trailer park's all jumped in based on one dude that's in the high school. So they get jumped in. We're going to school in the morning. We take a bus. When we take that bus, there's a car next to us. And all these little kids are throwing up gang signs from the window to the car. And we're going to school. Now, I don't see nothing of it. The car's flashing back gang signs. We go to school. Seems like a lifetime. We're let out of school now. Everybody completely forgot what happened in the morning. So when we're coming back, we're driving back from school. And there goes the car again. And everyone's like all pumped up, like, oh, they're all excited, like, oh, that's the car we were banging on in the morning. And right behind the car is the Astro van. And the Astro van opens up the door, and it's deep, like it's stupid deep, you know? And all you see is bald heads and white shirts, and these fools are flashing signs, and the car's like, what's up now, fools? And everyone, like, goes dead silent. Like, they know the seriousness of this, you know what I mean? One thing was, oh, they're just playing around in the morning. Another thing is, these fools sat on that all day. And when that yellow school bus let out, these fools are right there to follow it home. And, you know, it's a dire situation because you got like 10-year-old.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
You got like 10-year-old kids, but these kids are, they know they're in trouble for these activities they've been partaking in. And we make a plan, because keep in mind, these are my friends, and I'm with them, and we all live in the same spot. So they're like, as soon as the bus hits right here, let's run to the Shell station, a gas station. Let's just run in there. So everyone's like, okay. And me, I was always a slow runner, so I'm like, oh, this is going to be interesting, you know? And the bus lets off, and we run. Boom, we're out. And we make it to the Shell station. And, you know, it feels safe. It feels like, oh, we did it. We accomplished it. But as little kids don't think they don't think things through, what happens next is the Shell station ends up with a gang of gang members that were in the car in the aftermath. And these fools go in rowdy. They're all rah, like, bout it. They're in my cousin's face. And I'm like, damn, my cousin's getting punked out right now. Like, I'm just saying this in my head, right? But I'm like, dang, all these fools were all rah. And now that this is really happening, like, my cousin and his whole little crew and all them gang members, they peed on themselves. Long story short. But we leave. We end up, the Shell station man said he was going to call the cops. Those guys left, and then we had to run to the park, and then everybody ran. And one of my friends right there, he hid under a car, and the acid from the car, it was dripping on his head. So this fool comes out when everything's said and done, and they all leave. We're all coming out of bushes, and everybody that was hiding. And my friend was crying because the acid was dripping on his head, and it was hot. And I remember that fool's face. Like, he was like, man, I thought I was going to die. I could see them with the gun and this and that. And I say this story because of this. Me and my friend that ended up not being from nowhere, I move again. And I go to a different part, and now this part's like, back then all I knew was gang members. So when I move again, this is like when I start becoming a DJ. This is when I'm introduced to like taggers, ravers. This is like a different scene over here. The girls, they're dressed more like party crew. Like, it's just a different getup. It's not all cholo. It's not all gangster, right? And I go back maybe like a year later. I go back to tell my best friend, like, hey, fool, like, look, it's not all corrupted like this. Like, we could move over here and you'll have different friends. Trust me, I got like so many friends that I didn't think I would be friends with. And when I go back, his house was empty. And his neighbor, she's like, hey, mijo, is that you? And I'm like, yeah, what's up? Where did they, I just wanted to know where my friend went. So I'm asking her, like, where did so-and-so go? And she tells me that he got into a gang over there. Not the same one. He got into a whole different one. But he ended up killing somebody. And he was like 13, 12 years old. He got juvenile life. So what that means is he went to YA till he was 25 and got out. And I always remember thinking, like, I abandoned him. And that happened with him. And then my cousin, he ended up getting jumped out of that gang and getting jumped into another local gang where his cousins, my other cousins, were from. And that, he ended up killing somebody and getting life for that later. At a quinceañera, there was a fight over the gun, and he killed a rival gang member. So that happened. And these are experiences I'm going through. Yeah.
And when that incident happened at the quinceañera, how old was your cousin at this time?
It's hard to pinpoint it, but I definitely want to say he was under 18 years old. He went to a quinceañera and he shouldn't have been there because the other gang is the deep gang in the city. So the other gang, he had to know they were going to be there. So when he went there, and by the way, this gang member that he killed, go back when we were little kids and we run to the Shell station, that's that same gang. So he got into a smaller gang in the beginning.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
Hello?
He got out the small gang and got into another smaller gang because most of the family was from the other one. But both of them still had beef with the big gang, In that city, all the small gangs kind of click up. And, they have to because the big gang is so dominant, right? So he went to the quinceañera, and I guess the guy pulled out a gun, and they started fighting for it, and then he killed him. And then he got, he gets time, he gets caught, he does all that, And this is when I'm on the streets.
And by the time you went back to look for your friend that lived in that same area, how old were you? How old were you by then?
I was still young, man. I was like, I want to say I was like 13 years old. I hopped on the bus. I literally hopped on the bus, paid the bus fare, went all the way to the next city, and I was so happy. And I was like, I wonder what this fool's gonna think of me now, because I was insecure, right? Like when I left him, when at 10 years old, I'm dressing like a little gangbanger, you know. So when I come back to tell him like, hey, like this is a new way out here. I'm not dressing in Ben Davis no more. I'm not dressing in Dickies no more. I don't look like a gang member. Like all that chulio, the style of it, I left behind, even at that age. So I was like, I wonder if this was gonna be like, damn fool, what's up with your gear? Like you're a straight punk, fool. Like what you doing wearing this, you know? But I'm still going back, trying to save him, you know? Yeah, because right there, keep in mind, those are DJ days, so
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
my whole wardrobe is changing, you know? Like the whole identity is changing, you know?
And you know what? I just lost my my train of thought.
Train of
there.
thought?
Yeah.
It was about the best friend, me going back. So I don't know if that helped it. But the phone's going to hang up right now. I'm going to call you right back.
Okay. All right. Cool. Perfect. Thank you. That'll give me some time to gather my thoughts here. Thank you.
So we just okay.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
So so I want to go ahead and give a shout out to ICEMAN and to Righteous Monkey for for tapping in. And Joe, he should be calling us back shortly. And for tomorrow, for those of you that are going to be home in the daytime and not working and whatnot, we are going to be having David and Jesse tomorrow. We should have, because that's what we had planned. But I'll confirm with them today, and then I'll go ahead and put up the marker or put the thumbnail for the live for tomorrow. And that'll be our last live for the year. And then we got 2024, coming in right around the corner. So it's gonna be here sooner than soon, pretty much. And then hopefully this coming up.
This call is now being recorded.
Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Tel Link.
Hello.
Okay, hello. Yeah.
All right. So I just want to go ahead and let you know we got some more of our supporters tapping in right now. So we just had right when you started the other story, we had a ICEMAN tapping in, and he put "Orale fellas, just made it off of work. Overtime 11 hours total. Happy New Year's, fellas."
Okay, yeah. Happy New Year's right back to you, man. Thank you.
All right, and then we also got one of our newest members here, Righteous Monkey, and he just put that he was tapping in. And then I do remember the question that I was going to ask you. So yesterday when we were speaking, or when you were going down your journey, you had mentioned to us that you had gotten arrested, and you ended up in Los Padrinos, all the way from Riverside. And what I was going to ask you was, when you were breaking into cars and whatnot, or stealing cars, this moment that you were just speaking about your friend, and that by the time you had came back already, that he wasn't there anymore, had that already happened, or was that later on where that event happened, where that you ended up in Los Padrinos?
Oh no, that was way later. When I go to LP, I'm literally maybe like a year away from committing my life crime, so I'm probably like 16, when I go to Los Padrinos.
Okay.
And right here in the story, I'm barely like 13, you know?
Okay.
So it's still a long ways away.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not that criminal. In my growing up, I wasn't that criminal yet. So what I'm trying to do is share stories of how my progression even got there, you know, because my cousin, obviously doing that, I'm just showing like exposure to gang violence, and also when you have a cousin that killed somebody, like that really happened. That's really a part of my family. Maybe it was my sister's cousins where I don't even think of them as my cousins, but in time there's going to be more stories and you're going to see a deeper picture, you know?
Yeah. And you know what?
And at the time,
yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, at the time, my best friend, the one that lived there, remember, he gets juvenile life, and I know he killed somebody, you know, and I'm sad that he killed somebody. I'm sad that he's busted. I'm sad that I couldn't go like save him in time, you know, but as a little kid, I already know he took somebody's life, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I was about to say was, you know, you were mentioning yesterday, and you mentioned it today, where about your mom, you know, like the things that you say, you know, we pick and choose, you know, what we're gonna use.
Yeah.
So like when we're growing up, you know, well, as far as me, you know, like my friends and whatnot, we were kind of the same boat. You know, we had, you know, parents that would work, and then we would all hang around because we had a bunch of time on our hands and we were left unsupervised. So all of us are taking things from our parents and from around us, and we're choosing what we're gonna use, you know, around us. You know, the you know, the things that are gonna mold us. So we're all being influenced by our parents and the things around us, and then we're taking those things to the group of friends, and we're influence each other with the outside influences that we're getting, if that makes any sense.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
Absolutely, absolutely, because my mom was not a criminal. My mom's not anything close to gangs, right? She's not like that. But even when I was little, she would say, don't take a picture, because if you do something, the cops are going to use that picture to get you. And in my mind, I'd be like, my mom was crazy. But she was already laying that down for me, and it wasn't because she seemed a little criminal because I'm too little at that age, you know? But she would say that. So when I say, like, she would say the government's corrupt, I see that still in my sisters. And when she would say, don't take pictures because one day the cops might get you, right? I never looked at that as a reality at that time when she was telling me that. But the one thing I did do is I didn't take pictures because she said that, you know? So a parent's words, they matter to a kid. You know, no matter which way you look at it, when you're talking to your children, they grab that because you're the only teacher they got.
Yeah, so that so it affects us more than our parents think, and then when we become parents, you know, the things we do, our children are also absorbing it and learning from us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, would you like to continue then on the rest of your journey? Because
okay.
It would be so from yesterday. So pretty much it would be like you're gonna be filling in the last 3 years, or the 3 years pretty much we kind of missed out on yesterday's conversation, right?
Yeah, I'm filling in the gaps to the years leading up to the crime. That way the audience can have some kind of understanding of everything that was going on around me, you know?
Yeah.
I had a brother-in-law, right? Well, keep in mind my sisters are older, so my youngest sister is 10 years older than me. So when I am 5, she is 15, with a 15, 16, 17-year-old boyfriend. Now, I have 5 sisters, but 3 boyfriends were from the gangs around there, right? So I'm going to be talking about my brother-in-law that is from a gang out there. And my brother-in-law, he had 3 kids with my sister. Now, at this time, I'm probably like 10, 11 years old. And my brother-in-law's from the hood, but he's like married. So he's already from the hood, but he's like on the side of it. He's not in the mix no more, you know? He's doing the family thing, but he's still a gang member nonetheless. He has a 59 Impala. It's all hooked up, Dayton's, everything, white walls. He has a 65 Impala. He has a 68 convertible Impala. All 3 cars are low ridered out. The 65 got hydraulics. So I'm looking at him like he's a cholo, you know? This was a gang member all the way. And he got the stilo to go with it. He got all these cars and everything, you know? Well, one day, this fool calls me to the backyard, and he will be with his homeboys right there. And they're all older. They all got brochas on. You know, they got tattoos. Some of them been to prison. They got that whole gangster look. Calls me to the backyard with a group of friends I had. Actually, another best friend. Actually, my crimey for the case I'm busted for now. And he calls me back there, and this neighborhood kids, all of us. He's like, hey, fool. We're talking, and he's like, go ahead and fight that fool. Now, keep in mind, I have been through this already. I have been through this with the Crips in the restroom, right? Fought my best friend. So I don't want to fight my friends, but having gone through it already, I kind of knew the routine already, you know? So I don't want to fight them, but at the same time, I don't want to show my brother-in-law like I'm weak. I don't want to show him that I don't want to fight them because you're telling me that. So we just fight. And he will fight us in the backyard like pit bulls or like Mexicans fight roosters, you know? They're right there, they're barbecuing, they're drinking in the backyard, and they got us little kids fighting each other. And after we fight each other, you know, one of us might have a bloody nose and they clean it up. And the same thing, the same teachings are being installed. You did good. You guys did good, fool. If anybody tries to mess with you guys jump them. If this happens, do this. You never let your friend get beat up. So the same teachings that the Crips taught us, that taught me and my friend, now they're teaching me and these other guys. And I already know the script. I already know this at that time. And it's just being reinforced and reintroduced into our lives. And it's so sad and corrupted because I'm a little kid. I've been through this 2 times already. I say it's so sad because just a little bit years later, when I don't know, 15 or 14, just like a few years later, man, I got my nephews. And my mom and them are having a family party. They're doing what they do, you know? And it's me and the boys outside. So then I start fighting my nephews, you know? And I start teaching them the same shit. The same thing. And I'm like, look, you don't let nobody jump you. This is your cousin. Same spiel, same BS I'm giving them. I'm young at this time, but I'm adding to the cycle of violence, the cycle of this fucking fucked up culture. I just add to it, you know? And that was 4 nephews. Out of the 4 nephews, 3 of them came to prison. Yeah. And that happened. So that's another experience that I went through that was conditioning my mind to think this lifestyle was normal. The lifestyle of violence and the lifestyle of like you handle your problems through violence. That's what I'm being taught right here. And that's what I'm gravitating to. And, you know, a lot of me likes it. I think all of me likes it because I can't remember watching a Mike Tyson fight and not thinking I want to see Mike Tyson whip this fool's ass. So it was going hand in hand at this time. This is in the 90s. It was going hand in hand with the music that was coming out, with the Ice Cube music, with the Eazy-E's, the Dr. Dre's, the Snoop Dogg's. They were portraying a lifestyle that I was growing up with in the streets in real life, in real time. And as I get older, like 15, 16, I am actually saying these fools are fake rappers. These fools are rapping my lifestyle on their songs and they're getting rich. And that is my mentality. That's where I'm going. So, yeah. Here's another thing. Here's another thing that happened. This happened in like 1992, 1993. I'm about 13. Yeah, I'm about 13 or 14 years old, somewhere in that bracket. Remember my cousins that...
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
Remember my cousins that were from my sister's side of the family? Well, I have an aunt from that side of the family, and I grew up with this woman. Like we will go to Mexico together. We will go to Lake Paris together. We would do things. She was the only one closest family member I had that was an adult. My cousins are out there, and they're doing what they do, and they live their life, right? And my aunt's house used to get drive-by all the time. Like for a year and a half, they were doing drive-bys on this house. And one time, in that year and a half, like at the end, my aunt's coming out, and they're going from a store to the house, or they're going from the house to the store. But they're all...
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
And this is in between the city of Paris and Elsinore where this happens. They're coming up to do like a random drive-by on the house again, you know? And they see my aunt and my cousin in the car. And so these fools, they start chasing them in the car. And this is kind of like not too many cops around this area, you know? So they're chasing them, and they're busting on them, and they end up shooting my aunt. They end up shooting my cousin, and the car flips, and my aunt dies. That happens when I'm like 13, 14.
And what was?
And my aunt was in the yeah.
Should have looked at the time before I wasn't decided to ask the question. He should be calling us back shortly, and I want to go ahead and give a shout out to Angel. We really appreciate you tapping in. I should be having Javier on sometime in the next few hours. I was gonna have him on earlier in the morning, but he had a prior commitment that he needed to attend to, so I ended up pushing it back. So. I had asked him if he could call me during the football game. I believe the Lions and the Cowboys are playing today, so I asked him to call me up during that time. So hopefully he does, and if he does, then we'll go ahead and run a live. Tonight I really don't have any plans for today. And there we go.
Esta es Global Tel-Link. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Tel Link.
Hello.
Hello?
All right. So
Yeah.
right now you were mentioning about your aunt passing away. How does something like that affect you being so young and then um and I'm assuming your aunt wasn't the intended target, right?
No, my aunt was a normal lady. She wasn't a gang member. She didn't commit crimes, you know. She was anybody's mom out there, right? Anybody's normal mother, and the children, because of their lifestyle they chose to live, it came back to bite, you know. And at the time, I was completely callous. I mean, not callous. Apathy. I was apathetic, and that means like you don't have emotions, you don't have feelings, right? So when I find out about this, I'm probably like 13, 14, and my mom, my sisters, everybody's at the house, and everybody's crying. And when I walk in, you know, they're crying, and I don't know what's going on. And then they finally tell me like, your Aunt Irma died, you know. And at the time, I remember getting so angry, not that she died, but because they're crying, because they're telling me, be a man, don't cry. And they always told me stuff like that, you know? Hey, boys, don't cry. Don't tattletale. Nobody likes to tattletale. So they're installing these things. And at the time, I don't know how to, I'm a little kid. I don't know how to process what they're telling me. It's just adding to my personality, my future personality, right? So when they're in the house crying, I'm angry.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
I'm angry because all I could think of is like, what happened to you? Don't cry. What happened to this? What happened to be a man? So in my little heart, it's like, I am a man now. And guess what? I don't cry now. And I walked out the room like I had no care in the world. And I left them crying. But I'm too tough to cry because I'm a man, you know? So only later in life could I mourn.
So during this time, it's safe to say that a lot of the stuff that you're seeing around you, you're just or things that are happening to you, you're just bottling everything up, right?
Yeah, I'm numb to it. I'm looking at it as if it's normal. And the reason I wanted to double back and tell you stories is because when I'm 17, I think I'm going to die before I turn 16, right? Now, if I say that statement and I don't share these stories, then it's like, well, how could you think you were going to die so young? But at this time, death is becoming normal. It's becoming like a way of life, you know? And I know I'm knee deep in the streets every day. I might not be shooting people and doing all this and that, but, you know, I'm already getting shot at, you know? Yeah, I'll share some of those stories coming up, but, you know, I quickly started seeing death as my future out there. And when you're seeing it like that, you kind of stop caring about life because you're like, I'm going to die anyway, you know? And when you stop caring about life, you stop caring about your life, which makes you automatically stop caring about everyone else's life. So that's how I became so reckless in the future. Because I just don't care. I just don't care about nothing.
And you know what? Me being from LA, you know, I was totally oblivious to the things that were going, on outside of LA. So I would have never thought that, you know, what you're walking us through right now. I didn't think these things were happening in other places but LA. You know, since LA, you know, was the place to be, and you know, LA was like the gang capital of the country. it never crossed my mind to think,
yeah,
other
absolutely.
things like this were going on, throughout, the state, or throughout, let alone through the country. So it really is
Yeah,
an eye opening.
yeah, and and yeah, all this stuff. Um, Iceman was talking about Iceman was talking about statistics and numbers in Riverside County, and I know people don't know the terminology like of a Franklin hearing, but a Franklin hearing is basically to put everything I'm telling you guys on record, so you could have so they could kind of know you and know the stuff you dealt with in life and know the stuff you went through in life, because they know that kind of stuff affects a child, right? Well, specifically for Iceman, I filed a Franklin hearing 5 years ago, and it's never been done to date, you know. And the same Franklin hearing I filed, I made copies of it. I passed out about 30 copies on the yard I was at. And the good thing was that people from Los Angeles were going back on it, and they were coming back with the life sentence knocked off. And it was just crazy. And in Riverside County, they have me 5 years later, and they never did nothing. That's just one for Iceman, you know.
And was that the same experience for other people that you might have shared that form with, that came out of Riverside County also?
Yeah, Riverside County's position on it was I filed in 2019, right? Or was it 18? Let's just say 2019 I filed. Let's just give them the extra year, if anything. So in 2020, it got granted, and then COVID came, and then, you know what? No, let me take that back. I filed 2018, bro. 2018. And then in 2019, it gets granted. In 2020, COVID's swinging around, so I know the courts got shut down and all that, and it's understandable. But when everything got picked up, they make it real hard to get a Franklin done. And for the longest, they were like, well, we were going to hire a special firm to do these. I was like, okay. And then when they hired them, they were like, we got them. And the firm was like, well, they never paid us. So that killed off like 2-3 more years or whatever, and here we are today. And now they're like, oh, yeah, we're getting around to it, but facts are facts. I filed that in 2018, and it never got done, you know? And it's specifically for childhood traumas to put on the record.
And for a Franklin hearing, just in case somebody's hearing this and they have a loved one that's kind of like in a similar situation like you're in, is this just specifically for people that have life sentences, or would this apply to anybody that has a lengthy sentence?
To the best of my knowledge, it doesn't necessarily have to do with life. It has to do with youth offenders, you know, and the traumas they went through. Because they know that you just don't wake up and kill somebody either, you know. So they wanted to create a Franklin to put all this stuff on record, so that the board commissioners, when you're going to board, they could have a better understanding of you, and they could kind of cater every case to every individual case that comes in before them, you know. And it's to give you a realistic chance at paroling at your first board hearing. That's specifically what it's for. So it's kind of like getting a board hearing before the fact, because now they know your life story. Now they know everything you went through and everything you didn't go through. And it gives a person a better idea of who's going to come in that room before them that they have to judge.
And out of the people that you did share it with, how many of those people were able to go home or are currently home already due to a Franklin hearing?
You know, that number, I can't say specifically, but I can say I've seen people come back with no life sentence on them when they had a life sentence when they left. And they came back like I'm talking 3 months, bro. Went to the county, 3 months later they're back in prison with us, and they're like, I go home in 2 years, and everybody's happy for them. And I know, like, I don't know what specific counties, I think it's San Jose County, or whatever the county is up there that people live in San Jose. I think their district attorneys were very ugly with the Franklin too. I think they were making it very hard for them as well. You know, so some counties are better with it. I know Los Angeles is one of the better ones with the Franklin, and some counties are like they try to do everything they can so that it just does not even go, or if it goes years later where you lost its purpose, you know?
Yeah. And you know, and that's really
because it's supposed to be done.
Go ahead.
It's supposed to be done. Another key thing, it's supposed to be done before you go to board. That's the intended purpose of it. It's before you even go to board. So what I say is when they try to drag it out, you might go to a board hearing, and then, you know, say they get around to it, but the board don't need it no more because they already went over those topics with you. They already know half of that stuff, you know, and it's not even a factor no more. That's why it's so important to get it before the board.
And what I was gonna say before is it's and this is one of the reasons that I wanted to start the channel, you know, to get information like that, you know, because information like that will definitely help, you know, people that are in the same, you know, same situation, kind of like you, you know, possibly, you know,
Yeah.
help them getting home. You know, and this would be the first time that I've heard of a Franklin hearing. Definitely, you know, gonna keep that in my notebook because that's very important information that you just, you know, you dropped a gem on us. You know, that information is it's valuable.
Yeah, and here's another gem. I'll text it to you so you can have it and you can put it on however you put it, right? But it's called a herd case, and it is for juvenile offenders as well. And the only reason I know about it is because as long as I've been in prison, for the most part, anything that has to do with juveniles.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
The lawyers will always come and pull me out with another group of individuals. And they came to Analyst State Prison this year, maybe like 4 months ago, if that. And they dropped a gem on me, man. They gave me the herd case, which is new, and there's no opposition to it right now. And I will dig through my papers and I will text you that information. That way you can share it with people too. And it's specifically dealing with juveniles and resentencing and pulling us back down to the county. And if you were like 14 or 15, I think the herd cases, I believe, don't quote me, but I believe if you're like 14 or 15 years old when you committed your crime, they cannot give you life no more. I mean, not saying that you can't be with it now, but when you file the herd case, there is an option to pull you down to court and take that life sentence away and give you something that is suitable for your age and your crime at the time it happened, you know? And that's huge. And it just came out this year, and the lawyers were stressing to me that if you file it quick, because right now there's no DA that has a case against it. So basically you're fighting with the ball flying.
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
There's no opposition yet. And it has to do with resentencing for juveniles.
And did you file that, or what's the status on you filing that?
I didn't file it because you know I was so close to board, and I was you know when you do this much time and you put in all the work to go home and you learn about yourself, you don't want nobody to take anything the wrong way, you know. So I didn't file it because I was scared the board would have a different of opinion of me filing that. So instead of filing it, I just put it away. And in my mind, I was like, well, if I need to file it, I'll file it after I go to.
All right, so I just saw that you tapped in. Thank you for coming in. Lifestyles Chronicles. Haven't seen you. I think in about a week now. I was Javier gave you a shout out yesterday, and I was trying to think back the last time that I saw you on the live, and I asked you at least be over a week now. But glad to see you back on the chat or la línea. So today, right now, we're currently with Joe. He's our newest guest here. He's sharing his story. He was giving us some of these motions that you could file if you are a youth offender. That'll possibly help you get home earlier.
This call is now being
Global
recorded.
Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Tel Link.
Hello? All right, yeah. All right, and I know you got cut off, mid sentence.
Yeah. I don't even know what I was saying. I lost my train of thought, bro.
All right. It's all good. It happens. It happens to me all the time. Like Jesse says, Jesse's favorite saying is he has a attention span of a squirrel, and I feel like that sometimes also because.
Yeah. For me, talking to you and sharing this with the viewers, it's like therapy. It's relieving, and I don't know. I just feel a certain way about it.
And I like to hear these stories also, or these journeys, just because before I would listen to like these other YouTube channels, and that's how I would do it. I would just listen to it, and I wouldn't ask any questions or put any comments. But with me doing this here, I'm going direct to the source, and if I have any questions, it's nice, that I could get a reply or a response like on the fly, because we're doing these live, and it is one of the perks of having your own stream where you're connected directly to the source. So it is.
You know what, James, you're my Joe Rogan, man. You're my Joe Rogan.
Oh man. Man. That I would have to say that's a first right there. But man, it would be nice, if I'm able to reach those those numbers.
Heights.
Yeah, those heights. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So hearing what I shared is like, you're entitled to ask any question with me. I want to be completely transparent with you and the audience, and if anybody has any questions,
That is correct. Yeah. I appreciate you throwing that out there, and if there's anybody listening right now, you guys are more than welcome, to ask any questions, either whether it's in the chat. We do have that phone number set up. If anybody's interested in, I could go ahead and post up the number so you guys could call in if you guys want to, ask, person to person.
Yeah.
So the line is open, and I'll ask any questions that'll pop up in the chat, or if you guys want to call in, then like I said, you guys are more than welcome to ask. But right now, I'm just gonna go ahead and hand the mic off back to you, and so you can go ahead and continue with your journey or your experiences.
With the storyline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Growing up, everybody knows I didn't have a father, right? And I had my brother-in-laws, but my brother-in-laws never made any attempts to feel like those kind of roles, right? So there was one guy that was older, and he was all gang banged out, you know. But he was around us because my cousin, and I used to always want to be a lawyer when I was a little kid, and he would always be like, man, when you get older, I'm gonna buy you a suit and tie, and you can represent us and this and that, you know. And in the future, that guy was around for a couple of years, but in the future, he got killed at a red light on Ramon Express Highway, right? Ramon Express Highway and Paris Boulevard. He got shot in the head and he died. And, you know, I used to have dreams about this fool. I used to have dreams about him, and I used to think how his last moments were. But again, I never shared any of that with my mother, you know? Because then, who knows what she would think of me. Like, oh, this was soft. And there was always an element for me being the only boy. Like, being the only boy meant I didn't have brothers to fight with. So I always felt soft for that. Because my friends, sometimes there'll be like 3 boys in the family, and these fools would duke it out in the backyard, and I'll be like, I was envious of that. Like, man, I wish I had a brother. But when he died, that's just another death that I looked at as being normal, and more so that he was the only one that really would talk to me about my future, you know. Aside from him, I can't ever recall him having conversations with people about what I wanted to do when I grew up, any of that. So that stopped with him. Now moving forward, and I'm telling you these stories kind of how they went from like I'm getting older each year and things are developing and things are happening. Now there is one point in my life where I'm living in some apartments, and the apartment exactly next door to me is my sister. She's living in the other apartment, so we're neighbors. So I'm at school, and I've been home on my bike, and I come home, and there's the cops all around. There's a paramedics. There's everybody's right there. The whole neighborhood is on the street. And I'm coming down the street, patching up all these people on the bike, and they see me. You know, people that know me see me, my little friends, and they're like, "Hey, fool, someone got killed in your house." And I'm like, "What? Nah." So I keep getting closer, and the more closer I get, I can see everybody's at my house. And I'm like, shit, my mom's there. That's the only one there, you know. So I start panicking. I start pedaling faster. I mob up in there, and it's my sister's house that's like all the cops are at, you know. And I come up in my apartment and my mom, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And she's like, oh, your sister's friend died in there, you know. And I'm like, okay, but you're good? She's like, yeah, I'm good. Your sister's good, you know.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
So then, when that happens and all the cops leave and everything settles down, you know, the next morning we're in my sister's house. And we have a box cutter, and it's an apartment, you know. And she told the landlord or whatever, and he said just cut the carpet out right there. And like we're literally cutting out the carpet the next morning, and it's all like burgundy color, you know. And it's all dried up, and the carpet's stuck together. And we cut that out, and we're scrubbing the walls and all that. Well, this is something that happened, and I don't even think that's not normal. I don't even think that nothing is strange about this day. I'm just helping my sister, and you know she's all sad and she's crying, and I'm like, don't trip, fool, I got this, you know, and she's helping too, but you know we just do all that together. Now, when I got older, and when I look back, I'm thinking of all these stories, and I'm thinking how dysfunctional I grew up, because a little kid shouldn't grow up like seeing all that, you know. But it's normal. It's completely normal to me at the time it was happening. But when you reflect and you look back, and you start taking these self-help courses And learning more, like, you realize that you shouldn't have been exposed to all that, you know? Yeah. And then, let's see. There's a time, and I know a lot of people could relate to this. Like a lot of like gang members could relate to this. I'm not from this hood, right? But I'm living in their hood. And there's a time I'm on the handlebars on a bike going down a hill, and gravity is taking us. The hill just goes down. And when I go right there, a car pulls up next to us. And that fool's like, "Hey, where you from?" And I'm like, "Nowhere." And then he puts his hand out the window and he has a gun hanging out the car. And these fools are like 20 years old. And I'm like 14 years old at this time. And I'm like, oh shit, this is the real moment. And they asked my friend on the bike, "Hey, where are you from?" And that fool wasn't from nowhere too, but he's coming out of Orange County, so he's like, "I'm from OC." And they're like, "All right." And they're still slow riding alongside of us. You know, he's hitting the brakes so the car don't go so fast. And then this fool, the driver, looks at me, and they're just like, they blow up the hood that we're in. And these fools think I ranked it. They think I'm really from there. So they start dumping, and my little stomach tightens. And I'm just waiting for the bullets to hit me. And they don't. And then the car drives off. Now, I say I know a lot of people resonate with stories like this because I've heard so many times, like the kids say, like, well, they were doing things to me already because they thought I was from this hood. And at that point, I was like, well, I might as well be from there if they're trying to kill me for it, you know? So they get jumped in later. I had those same feelings that day. Not that I should get jumped in, but dang, these fools are trying to kill me because they think I'm from this hood. So I could relate to that. And all these stories and all these experiences I went through helped shape me into thinking guns were normal, death was normal. And as a man and as a young boy, you solve your problems. Like, you don't go to authorities. You don't go to your parent, in my case, you know? You just handle it. And I had so many friends that were like on the same trip, you know? It just reinforced everything.
Let me ask you, can you give us like a layout of like the neighborhood you lived in? Was it apartment buildings? Was it houses? What was the layout of the neighborhood that you lived in?
The specific one I'm talking about when I get shot at on the handlebars?
Yeah.
Okay, that one has apartments in it, but the apartments are few. It's mostly houses, you know? And that neighborhood has about, I want to say 36 streets, 40 streets of it. So it's like a bigger neighborhood, you know? Like gang-wise. You know, I'm speaking gang-wise. Okay. They have about 40 streets.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
But what I will say is the apartments where the guy dies at my sister's house. Okay, this too, I'm missing a main part of that story. This too, not only do I think it's normal, but this is one of their G's that died in the apartment. And I wasn't there, right? Like, nothing like that was there. But in my mind at that age, and in all the kids' minds, every time they talk about his death, they will say, he died at Joe's sister's pad, you know? And that kind of puts another chip on my shoulder. Like, yeah, fool, he died at my sister's pad, not your sister's pad. And when my aunt dies, that's another chip on my shoulder. I'm grabbing these and I'm like carrying them like badges of honor. Like, this is another tough badge right here. My aunt died. Now, all my little friends, they didn't have an aunt that died like that. She didn't die gang-related like that. She didn't die fighting for her life, smashing out racing, and they just shoot her with a K. She didn't die like that, you know? So every time someone's dying, I'm grabbing that, and I'm like putting it on my chest, like this is a badge of honor. This is what I've been through. This is what makes me better than you. This is what makes me harder than you. And I didn't realize that as a kid. But when you look back, I could clearly see what I was doing, you know, when you break it down.
And by this time, how many people that you knew had died or lost their lives due to the streets?
Oh, man. Let's just think. The guy my best friend killed, that got the...
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
I didn't know him, but that guy. The guy my cousin killed at the quinceañera. My aunt that passed away. The homie Carlos that got shot at the red light on Ramona. This dude that died in my sister's pad, which is one of their like, they used to look up to this dude a lot. He's the G, you know? And that fool passed away. So just those is 5 people, you know?
And
yeah.
at this time you were what about like 13 years old?
No, at this time when that happens, oh yeah, I'm about 14 years old, 14, about to be 15, you know? Yeah, I'm about that age.
I know it's about to cut off
and so when
we got about 6
I'll
seconds.
call back right now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so I want to go ahead and thank all of you that are tapping in, whether you're participating in the chat or just listening, helping with the views. First person that came in here was Fishlayer SoCal. Then we had ICEMAN, followed by Righteous Monkey, Angel, Lifestyles Chronicles, and Grumps, 666, and Marlene. Can't forget about Marlene, huge supporter.
This call is now being
Global
recorded.
Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Tel-Link.
Hello? Yeah.
All right. So, I know earlier on you had mentioned that your aunt had passed away. Was there any retaliation when she ended up getting murdered?
To be honest, that was a retaliation. That was to get back,
Man.
So that I'm not saying it ended there, but that would have never started. But like I said, my cousins brought their addiction to this gang lifestyle, this criminal activity, right? They were trying to get back that whole year and a half doing the drive-bys, They just never got it, and they never gave up, and they were always hungry for it, Like they got hurt, and the saying, "Hurt people hurt people," so they couldn't let that pain go,
And what was what ended up happening to your cousins? Did they have a two parent home where they had their mom and the dad, or what happened to them if they were only if they only had a 1-parent home? As far as like their living situation.
They had a 1-parent home. Yeah, they had a 1-parent home. They were living with their aunt, and after that, they were all underage at this time. There's 3 of them, and they never got took to foster care. I don't know if the other side of the family, like the mom side, the other cousins or aunts or uncles, I don't know if they took them in, or I don't know, because they were already teenagers. They might have not been 18, but they could easily just go to the streets and like, I'm living in the streets, I'm thugging with my homies, So I know they didn't go to foster care or nothing like that. And they stayed gangbanging. They stayed out there. They stayed from the same neighborhood. They stayed. That didn't change their lives. Like you would think somebody might wake up. That might be a pinnacle moment for somebody, but it wasn't for them.
And I want to go ahead and share something with you right now because we have one of our members right now, Fish Lair SoCal. He just blessed you with $5. You know, it happens from time to time here. Where our listeners.
Oh man, thank
Fish Lair
be sure
SoCal.
to thank that man. Like, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that, man. I feel blessed. I truly feel blessed right now, man.
You know, sometimes, you know, our viewers, you know, they feel generous and they'll, you know, they'll shoot us a little something, you know, this way. So, you know, whenever they do that, I like to acknowledge it, you know, because
shout them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because in all reality,
you tell Fish. Yeah, you tell Fish, man. He could hear me. He could hear me. What did you say?
Yeah, he could hear you. Yeah.
Oh man, Fish. Hey, you know what? I don't care the amount, right? But I want you to know it felt like $20,000.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
It felt like $20,000, my boy, and I just want to say thank you, and I'm humbled and honored. You know, I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's huge. Because you know, I mean, our sole purpose, you know, being on here is not for, you know, monetary gain. I mean, but it always is nice. You know, especially, you know, I know if I was incarcerated, somebody give me $5, I'll definitely, you know, I'll be happy, you know, because you know, I know when I was up in county, I didn't have anything coming my way. So, but I know everybody's circumstances are different. So, and I know it's definitely tough out there right now, you know, with everything that's going on. You know, so yeah,
absolutely.
A small gesture, you know, goes a
but
long way.
His small gesture went 20,000 big, boy. He like won the lotto. He made me feel like I won the lotto, you know. And again, it's not about that, but just you know, I get to see a person's heart, you know, and that's what makes it feel like 20,000, you know. And I just wanted to express that.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So were there any other, you know, pivotal moments, you know, in your teen years that affected you, or had a profound effect on you?
Absolutely. There's just one more story I'm gonna share because it really toughens me up. Like it's before I commit murder, and it's one I feel I have to share. You know.
Hey, but hold on.
Like
hold on. Sorry to cut in right now.
Yeah, it's okay.
But all right, so Fish Layer right now, he's feeling really generous, so he just dropped another $5. He said one more time for the chili lime. So I heard there's a chili lime a shortage right there in the yard, so you know you can stack up on the chili limes.
Yeah, man. Tell him I said thank you, man. I said thank you. And you know what? I feel so good, man. I'm on the air. He could hear me. I want to share this with my cellmate, man. Hey, Tony. Some guy blessed us with some chili lemon lime soups, man. What you think about that? This fool got a big smile. He's like, those are the best one on the line. Yeah. Yeah, man. You know, I feel completely blessed today, man. Thank you, James, for this opportunity, and we're trying to change lives right here. We're trying to make sure little kids know the harsh reality of making bad decisions, and it ruins your life. And we haven't got there yet, but believe me, I'm gonna get into all that in due time. You know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it takes some time, you know, but we're definitely, you know, gonna, get through your whole story. And like I say, I mean, you've been down 27 years, so there's no way you could get in, to your whole. And I mean, 27 years that you've been down, but that doesn't even count, what you were in the street. So that just adds, more to your story. So, take your time. Don't ever feel rushed, glossing over anything.
Okay.
Paint the picture as best as you can. And that's what our viewers, appreciate. They love the details. So they could kind of like feel like you're guiding them through your story, and they're there with you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm trying to do. And again, I can't tell you everything I did on the streets. It would just be too long, right? But I'm just trying to give a few examples of how my mind was getting to the point where I thought it was okay to kill. That's really what I'm trying to explain, because you just don't get there. It takes time. And like I say, when my aunt died, I looked at my sisters crying. I thought they were weak, and I felt like, okay, I am the man you guys been professing I was. I am too tough to cry now, right? And those are badges of a falsehood honor that I'm putting on my chest, and I'm throwing on this armor, and I'm like, the world can't hurt me. I'm numbing myself to the world. I'm numbing myself to things. And what I want to say right now is that through all this, I was under the illusion that I'm living my life. Like, my mom might be saying something like, you got to go to school or they're going to arrest me, because we had these conversations, right? And I'll be like, man, don't sweat me. Like, you lived your life. You wanted to be a Hollywood starlet. You ended up out here, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is my life. I'm living my life. And what you don't realize is that when I ended up killing somebody, I thought it was my life. I really thought I was living my life. What I learned was I dragged my mom, my sisters, a woman I will marry in the future. I dragged everybody in prison with me. So it's like I'm in prison, and I don't even think I have a hard life. I think it's just life. It's normal. But I made their life hard. Depression, stress. Like, why do they got you in jail? Because I was lying to my mom and lying to my sisters. Like, I never said, hey, I did that. They just assumed that I did not do that. So they'll be like, oh, the stupid government, they got you in jail, like you didn't even do this, and I just won't say nothing. But in my head, I'm like, how could you not think I did this? Like, don't you know me? But they were in denial because it was too hard for them to believe their son, their brother could commit such a crime. So they're not even believing I did it. And I don't even tell them I did it because in my mind, I'm just thugging. I'm just going through the motions. Well, they weren't. They were really suffering, sending me money, doing all this, hopes for a lawyer, hopes for laws to change. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to die in here. Like, I've already accepted it. But I know what I did, and they don't. And I finally told them, like, after, I told them after 2014, after the law passed, that's when I told them at a visit. And that's the first time they found out.
And
so up until that point, they thought I was innocent.
And how hard was it to to tell your family that you did commit this crime, that you were incarcerated for?
Oh man, it was hard. It was hard, James. It was hard because I'm at when you're in prison, all my prison experience for the majority, 90%, was on a 4-yard. So when I tell them I'm on a 4-yard, I'm in Calipat, and I'm like on A yard or B yard or C yard. I'm on one of those yards in Calipat, right? And I've been to all three. That's why I don't know where I'm at when I tell them. But I finally tell them. And in that visiting room, you don't want to show no vulnerability. because you've been a man. Keep in mind, I've been a man since I'm like 5 years old in my mind, and I definitely was a man when I turned 12. And here I am all these years later in 2014, and in prison at that time, there is very few people that could tell me something in prison. Like, I'm at the cream of the crop in here. And to know that I could be on the verge of tears telling them, that is all I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking about they need to know. I'm thinking about protecting this image I got. I'm thinking about, fool, you gotta harden yourself up because you're gonna tell them this. And you know, if they start crying, I don't know what I'm gonna do, because at this point in my life, I have emotion now. I'm not that callous little boy no more that don't give a fuck. Like, I give a fuck now, you know? And that little part that I'm telling you was hard in itself. Now, telling them and having my mom, like, that was a different hard. That's like a human hard. But I'm so concerned with the prison.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
I'm so concerned with the prison aspect of it. Like, what's my neighbor in the other table? Is he gonna look right now? Like, are my eyes gonna get watery? Like, you know, you're protecting yourself so much as an inmate that you're so concerned is about those things. You know, when you don't have no one to talk to in prison, right? So later on, like closer to these years, you know,
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
I started realizing that my shower time was the only time I could be a human, because everyone's locked down in the cells and you're out there showering once at a time, right? So those were the only moments where I felt like I could talk to God. I could just be a human. Because once you get out the shower and you go back to the cell, you have a cell again, you're hard again, you know? You have this mask on, like, I've been the guy, I'm a tough guy, you know? So it was difficult, James, extremely. Tell me.
Thank you for answering that. I know we're down to about 10 seconds. If you want to go ahead and give us a call back, and then you continue with...
I will.
All right, cool. Perfect.
I will, bro. And I know I said about the Cowboy game, but Cowboy game might have to wait, you know? I'll call you back right now.
All right. All right. All right. So, man, you can definitely, you know, hear the emotion on his voice. You know, it's something hard that he has to, talk, deal with, and it's hard to talk about. It's not as easy as they make it seem, when you're watching a movie and then you take somebody's life and they cut over to the next scene. These are things that you're going to carry, for the rest of your life, unless you're like a psycho, then
This call is now being
Global
recorded.
Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Tel-Link.
Hello. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Right now, when the call got disconnected, I was speaking to the audience, and I was pointing out to them that talking about these things, it's not easy, especially admitting that you took somebody's life, and then you had to admit it to your family. And it's not like the movies where you gun somebody down and you cut over to the next scene and life goes on. For you, life is pretty much stopped. You've been in prison for the last over 27 years now, and
Yeah.
and you've come to terms with what you've done. You took a young lady's life, and
Yeah.
it had a ripple effect. She's been taken away, from her family. Her family has to deal with that, and then you're taken out of the equation because you committed this crime, and
Yeah.
it affected a lot of lives and a lot of people that don't deserve to suffer, for your
For
actions.
my cowardly actions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And
Yeah, that's what I was saying about I was thinking it was my life, but it really wasn't. My life was tied into my mom's and everybody else's life. I got nephews that the same nephews that I fought when they were little kids, and I apologized to them later. Like, I'm talking about maybe 2010, 11. I would call them all the time and apologize, like, hey, fool, I'm sorry, I couldn't be your uncle.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
And that hurt, just to tell them that. And as ironic as it sounds, they'll be like, "For you, the best uncle I got."
you know what, and I appreciate, you opening up, because a lot of the times, people get on these platforms, and they portray like prison is fun, hurting people is fun, drug dealing is fun, smuggling phones, it's fun, and how they're the man on the yard. And with you, we're getting nothing but raw emotion, what it really is, to be incarcerated, and being sentenced to life. It's not all fun and
Yeah,
games, it's not what a lot of people portray to, portray what it is. That's just
yeah,
what is it? They're masking it, or they're portraying it in incorrect fashion. I'm sure, yeah, prison does have its fun moments here and there, and you guys laugh and whatnot, but at the end of the day, it's like you're somewhere that you can't leave. You have to, there's rules
yeah,
there. You gotta mind somebody, and it's definitely not the place you want to
yeah,
spend the rest of your life at.
yeah. Absolutely not, man. A lot of us, like, I could say all of us that have committed murder or that have done stuff like that. Like, we've all said the same thing forever, right? And this is before rehabilitation. This is before they were letting lifers out, right? This is before 2014, I want to say 2013. A lot of us will say, if they ever let me out, I'll never come back to prison again. And I believe a lot of that was so real and so true. No matter where were you at, no matter how you might have been on the ladder, right? I believe that was true because we all lost our life. And when you come to prison, and for me it was 17, and they tell me, you're never going home again. So in my mind, even when I was young, I used to know I was going to die in here at like 84 years old and 92 years old in a prison cell. And that's how I pictured it. Now, later on, I got a job, and the job was cleaning up CTC and Central Health. And I used to clean up bloody ambulances, the gurneys, the homies come on, or whatever respected race comes on after he gets blasted. That gurney will be full of blood. And I was the guy, a part of like a 6-man crew, 5-man crew that will clean up the blood, right, as an inmate, because the cops ain't cleaning that up. They get us to do that. And I never had this job before. And what I realized right there is you don't die in a cell like I thought. You get so old where you're on the verge of death, and they take you to a CTC or Central Health, Every prison has one. It's like a mini hospital in the prison. And when you're that old, they put you in a room that's around a big bubble that the cops could see, and it's one man per cell. And when I started working there, I started realizing, and it was sad to see this, when the old man dies in prison, this is where they send him. He's alone. He doesn't have his friends of the building. He doesn't have nothing. He's in this little room, can't talk to no other inmate, and he's asking the doctor or the nurse or one of the staff members, I need my diaper changed. That's how you die in prison. And I didn't even know that when I was thinking I was going to die in prison. I thought I would do it in the comfort of my friends on the main line. I thought I would do it right there, but that's not reality. You get so old, they take you to a little piece of prison where they have to watch you, where they have all the equipment in case your heart stops to try to work on you. That's where you die.
Man, that's raw. Yeah, like you're thinking, you're gonna pass away like in your cell, and that's not the reality of it.
Yes, that's not the reality of it, and you don't know that. You don't. That's why we never see nobody die on the main line like that. You see people die of stabbings. You see people die of an overdose. You see people. I seen a black guy have a heart attack because of the pepper spray in Calipat, right? But you never see nobody die an old man in prison, and that is why you don't see it, because that's not the policies and procedures of a state prison, and we never even think that far ahead to actually think how it really happens. But I've seen it, and I know it.
So, working that job, looking at it back now, would you change it, from all the hurt and pain that you saw?
What do you mean change it? Change what?
Like, you experiencing that, I don't even know I don't even know how to put it into words, but
would I change the crime? Would I have not did the life crime? Would I have not killed this beautiful person I did? Is that the question?
Yeah. Like if you could go back and
I would have. If I could go back, I would have never did it, because all I had to do was walk away. Like, that's all I had to do. I didn't have to be like thinking the thoughts I thought. Oh, they jumped me. Oh, God bless them. God be with you, homeboy, for jumping me, because now you're going to see what you're going to get. That was all me. Like, these guys that jumped me, they didn't even play with guns like that. They weren't even out shooting like that. Ripple effect, right? You spoke on that. That is the things that happen after you do something. That is like throwing a rock at the water, and the ripples of the water keep going. So I said hurt people hurt people. This neighborhood, this gang neighborhood, was not violent. Now, I was already like, all these people died around me. Like, I'll take it there in a heartbeat. When I got jumped, I took it there in a heartbeat. Look at this ripple effect. I was trying to destroy this gang. I wanted to hurt them all. I wanted to like erase them from the earth. And in my adolescent mind, I actually thought this was plausible. I thought I could do this and never go to jail. That's how naive I was. That's how not thinking of future consequences I was. So when I get in the zone, that's my plan. Like that's where I'm going with it. Because I did this shooting on the heartbeat of their hood, keep in mind, after I get jumped, the gates are locked. People are not deep on the street no more. They're like 20, 30 deep every day on the street. After that, they knew something was coming because nobody was there. I commit this crime. This story of me shooting and killing this poor girl, that would linger in that neighborhood. They did not shoot nobody, I did. But because I did it to them, they glorified this. I'm not saying they walked around and they were like, oh, this happened over here. I'm not saying that, but people know the stories. So my nephews grow up in this neighborhood. They all get into this neighborhood. And their dads and brother-in-laws, my brother-in-laws, they're from this neighborhood too. Both generations before me and after me are from this hood. When my nephews get in, this is the next generation of the hood. So because I did that shooting, they had like a hype about them. Like, oh, it cracks over here. Oh, it be cracking on this street. So they ended up having a boom, like a baby boom. They ended up getting all kinds of heads in this neighborhood. And that was completely opposite of what I was trying to do. Because remember, I was trying to destroy them. And I only made them bigger and I made them stronger. Because now the stories are being told, and this next generation, they did play with guns, and they did hurt people, and they caught AWOP cases, they caught death penalty cases, they got a whole string of them for life sentences, and all these little kids coming to prison, they knew me. They knew me, they would talk about me, and my crime was against them. And here they are, looking at me like the older.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
They're looking at me like the older homeboy, and they're looking at me like I'm their G, and they're looking at me like that because it's twisted. Because my nephews are my uncle, my nephews are my nephews, and I'm their uncle. So despite anything, my nephews will be like, "That's my uncle," and he did that right here. And those little kids, because it's violent, they loved it. And my other nephew that I didn't even mention, he died this year. And he died of an overdose. And he was a gang member his whole life from this hood, doing drugs his whole life. Did a little bit too much with fentanyl, passed away like 2 months ago. But that's the ripple effect, full circle. Because if I could have been a soccer player and shooting soccer balls in the goal, maybe they don't choose this gang lifestyle. Maybe they all play soccer, and all the little kids in the neighborhood play soccer instead of emulating my actions. And my actions had to do with the gun. And this next generation that came, they were all about it with the guns. And my nephews, we haven't talked this deep, but I'm sure they carried badges like that too. Like the same way I was with my aunt got killed and dude dying in my sister's house. I know the dude that died in my sister's house.
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
2 of her boys are my nephews. So the guy died in their house, in their apartment. So I know they probably had that as a badge of toughness. And then my uncle right here, he got life in prison. That's another badge. And it just keeps adding to the cycle. The cycle of this twisted violence, this twisted gang lifestyle, this twisted gang banging. And one of those nephews got 20 years to do in prison right now. And all his crime, he's got life. He got busted like 7 years later, was on the run for like 7 years, and only because the case was so old, he got 20-year deal. That's ripple effect. And that's what I did to my community. I hurt them. Everybody.
I know we're down to a few seconds. If you could go ahead and give us a call back, and then we'll go ahead and continue with your journey.
Okay.
All right. So right now, when he calls back, I'll go ahead and let him know that you guys are blessing him again. And remember, if you guys want to call in, we do have that option of you guys being able to call in. I'll go ahead and post up the number just in case somebody wants to tap in. And I don't even know where I got the number at. Oh, here it is. There we go. So it's up there. And he should be calling us back shortly. As soon as he does, then it's ringing already.
call is now being
Esta es
recorded.
Global Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Telling.
Hello?
Hello, Joe.
Yeah.
So I want to go ahead and share with you that we have Lifestyle Chronicles, and he writes, keep your head up, Joe. Your honesty on facing the reality of the outcome from every decision is something every parent needs to engrave in their kids' heads, 100%. And he also is blessing you with $10, so that brings you up to $20 now.
Okay, and yeah, man, I agree so much with you on parents and the conversations and the way you raise your kid matters, you know? And if you could teach them discipline and consequences, mostly consequences, like, that's big, because I didn't have that. And nobody's sitting up here blaming my mom, you know? That's not what I'm doing. But I'm saying there's a better way, you know? And the more we share that with people, the more our kids are safer in the future. And I thank him for the donation, and I couldn't agree more with his words, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely a shout out to Lifestyles Chronicle, you know, for that comment, and also for sending those $10 your way. And also we have El ICEMAN, and he puts Happy New Year, Joe, and he's also blessing you with $10, so that brings you up to a total of $30 that I'll be sending your way once we wrap up this stream, and then it should be hitting your account like in a day or two, or I don't know how long it takes, but I know New Year's is tomorrow, so hopefully, or New Year's Eve, so hopefully it gets into your account as soon as possible.
Yeah. Thank Iceman. That name, that handle is so cool, man. And I feel close to him already just by that handle, man. And and I hope he heard what I said earlier. I just forgot what I said to him. You know, I gave him another statistic. I just forgot it. You know. Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure he caught it. You know, he's normally in here like you know, faithfully, you know, day in and day out, you know, when I run this stream. So
okay.
I'm sure he
okay, that's cool.
Yeah, he caught it. And he was asking about your CDC number, and I just replied to him in the chat, letting him know that as of right now you're not ready to share your CDCR number as of yet.
Yeah.
But you know, definitely, you know, stay
tuned. He might tell him it's better he don't have it, because he might get a felony looking that up, you know. Tell him I used to be a very stupid and naive boy, you know, and it came with a lot of trouble. Yeah.
You know what? Iceman, he's actually shared some of his life with us previously, and he was mentioning to us that he had done time in the California Department of Corrections back in the 80s. So you know, he was
okay.
Yeah, he was you know, out there in the streets.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was my OG. He was like my brother-in-law that fought me in the backyard, you know. So I know Iceman appreciates Zap and Roger and those 59, 65, and 68 convertible Impalas, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll go ahead and, you know, hand over the mic for you, or to you.
Okay.
So for right now, I think this call, you know, like whenever this call concludes, then we'll go ahead and wrap it up, at least for today. I'm not sure what your schedule's looking like tomorrow, but if you're available tomorrow, then we could go ahead and run it. If not, on the 1st, and I think I'll be available up until, I think, Tuesday. I might go back to work on Wednesday. I just got to double check my work schedule. So I'll definitely be available for these next days if you know, want to, you know, jump on. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I am going to be available tomorrow. We'll touch bases on that after the call's over. And right now, I'll just share one more story that put a badge of toughness on me, so to speak, right? And this story is it's about law enforcement. It's about the cops, you know. I'll say this real quick. This wasn't even part of the story, but I never been pulled over like you see on TV where they say, "Hey, license and registration, please." I never had one of those pullovers. You know, my pullovers were always helicopter, like 7, 8 cop cars surround us, guns drawn, get out the car, you know, all that stuff. And I was very stubborn in my age, so this only shows to my stubbornness. I would always be the last one to put my hands up, and the cops would be walking up the car with the shotguns, and they'll be screaming, "Put your fucking hands up, we're gonna blow your shit out." And all my friends in the car, no matter what group of friends I got pulled over with, they'll all be screaming to me.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
They'll all be screaming to me, "Put your fucking hands up, stupid, like they're gonna shoot us." And my dumb ass will be like, Where's Fox News when you need them? Where's ABC News when you need them? Like, this is a free country. And they'll be like, "Shut the fuck." And then they'll get us out the car or whatever, right, and talk hella shit to me. Anyways, this is the cop story after all those pullovers. I have a friend, and this is about 1995. And my friend is, he's balling. Like, he's like 18 years old, but he is balling out the game. I was a car thief. He didn't want to buy none of my radios, none of my systems. He went and got a Orion Red Series system and felt like all high and mighty because he bought it from the store. He went and bought some stupid rims. He had like a 95 Honda Civic same year. Well, this guy ends up getting in the shootout with the cops. So in this shootout, he gets hit, and he goes to jail. And his parents bail him out, right? So when he's out on bail, he's going to court and whatnot, and then he goes on the run. He just goes to Mexico. This fool used to wear his Stetson hat and dress like a paisa and chains and silk shirts and over there slanging all day long. He decides he's going to run. Well, his parents lose the house, and his dad owned like 3 big rig trucks. They end up losing all this with the lawyer, with the bail. But in the meantime, the cops are looking for him. So the cops, they're on us. Like, they're on us bad. And they'll pull us over, and they'll be like, "Where's so-and-so at?" And, you know, you're thugging it. So you're like, good luck on that. You ain't even getting a word out of me. So they get tired of pulling us over and us not saying nothing. So they start pulling us over. And there's one time where they line us up. It's like 5 of us little rugrats. And they kick us in our balls, like one at a time. They're kicking from behind. So their foot is coming up from behind us. And like we're cuffed up and the cops are right there. And everyone's seeing this, and it's like straight abuse for little children, right? We're all under 18. And the first homie's like, "Ooh," and that was making noises, and he's on the ground and facing the dirt, right? And the next one, and they're like, "Where's he at?" And now we're all scared, and we're like, "Fuck, man." And boom, here comes a putazo, and we're like on the ground, you know. And it's like what the worst feeling in the world to get kicked in the nuts, especially when you've never been kicked in the nuts like that before. So everyone's hitting the ground, everyone's hitting the pavement, everyone's like, "Fuck, I just wanted this day to be over." And they let us go. And they're like, "There's more of that. There's more where that came from." And so we're all wounded, and we're all hobbling, you know, everybody's holding their nuts, and we're all walking like, "Fuck, these fools they just cracked us in the nuts like stupid pigs," right? So a couple days later, maybe like a week later, whatever it was, right? 10 days, whatever, whatnot. They pull me over, and now I'm by myself, and I'm in the same neighborhood. They did this again. They did this to me. I'm in the same neighborhood, but like on a different street. And I'm so shitting it, and I'm so like, fuck. And in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna run. And before I know it, these fools are out the cop car, and they're on me, and I'm like, fuck. And they put me on the curb, and they're like, "Sit down." And they're talking to me, but then they look at each other and they're talking. And when they look at each other, in my mind, I'm just like, "Just please get 5 steps and you could get away." And I book it. Boom. And I keep feeling the cop's hand on my shoulder and pulling me back down. But in reality, that don't happen. They don't get me like that. So I'm gone. I'm running as fast as I can. And then I just start hearing popping, pop, 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 pop. And when the bullets, anybody that's been shot at, when the bullets are close, they feel like they're flinging by your ear, like. And I'm gunning it. I'm running, and I go down like a hill, and it's dark time. This didn't happen in the day. It was like nighttime. And I go down the hill, and I'm like falling because the hill's going down, and I get up, and I'm running so fast, and I don't realize the shooting stopped already, right? I don't realize that. And I'm still running, and I'm like, you got to get away, you're going to die right here. And I'm running, I'm out of air. I'm not a marathon runner. I feel like my lungs out of my body. I'm like, I'm out of it. I finally stop, and I realize they're not shooting at me no more. And I look back, and they're not even up there looking for me. They didn't even come looking. I don't know what they did. They probably just hopped in their car, seen me fall, and they probably just took off. And that day, I felt so violated because I already was against the cops. I was already like, fuck the cops. Like I had that mentality through my childhood. But this took it to a whole new level where it was like, dang, fool, you're on your own. Like you really cannot trust nobody. There is no help when you need it. Because these guys are the guys that are supposed to help you. And look at what they just did to you. And I get it that they were mad that my friend got into the shootout with them and he went on the run and cops take that personal. And I get all that. But I didn't think I thought this was like more movie stuff. Like this won't happen in real life. And when it did, it was just like if it was screw 'em before, it was really screw 'em after this moment, And that is another one of those badges of toughness that I put on, because not all my friends had got shot up by the cops. And I'm not saying I got hit. I did not get hit, but to get shot at felt like I'm battle tested. I experienced that. I lived through it. I came out the other side. Ain't nobody tougher than me right here. In this neighborhood, no matter what hood you're from, no matter what you claim, you ain't tougher than me. And I was grabbing these badges of toughness and applying them, and that's how I ended up becoming a person that was able to commit murder in the future. All these little bits and pieces that were adding to me helped me develop this attitude of I'm the shit, and that's what it is, And that's the last story I'm going to share about like any layers of toughness that I was putting on me before I actually killed somebody.
And I want to thank you, you doubling back and shedding light on these experiences that you had that ultimately